Victoria Falls. Spectacular waterfall located about midway along the course of the Zambezi River, at the border between Zambia to the north and Zimbabwe to the south. Approximately twice as wide and twice as deep as Niagara Falls, the waterfall spans the entire breadth of the Zambezi River at one of its widest points. At the falls, the river plunges over a sheer precipice to a maximum drop of 355 feet. The fall's mean flow is almost 33,000 cubic feet per second. The Zambezi River does not gather speed as it nears the drop, the approach being signaled only by the mighty roar and characteristic veil of mist for which the Kalololozi people named the falls Mosi Oetanya. The lip of the fall's precipice is split into several parts by various small islands, depressions, and promontories along its edge. The eastern portions of the falls are mostly dry during times of low river flow. The waters of Victoria Falls do not drop into an open basin but rather into a chasm that varies in width from 80 to 240 feet. This chasm is formed by the precipice of the falls and by an opposite rock wall of equal height. The chasm's only outlet is a narrow channel cut in the barrier wall at a point about 3/5 of the way from the western end of the falls, and through this gorge, which is less than 210 feet wide and 390 feet long, flows the entire volume of the Zambezi River. At the gorge's end is the Boiling Pot, a deep pool into which the waters turn and foam at flood time. Just below the Boiling Pot, the gorge is spanned by the Victoria Falls Bridge, which carries rail, automobile, and pedestrian traffic between Zambia and Zimbabwe. The river's waters then emerge into an enormous zigzag trough that forms the beginning of Batoka Gorge, which has been cut by the river to a depth of 800 feet through a basalt plateau for a distance of 60 miles. The British explorer David Livingstone was the first European to see the falls. He named them for Queen Victoria of the United Kingdom. In addition to the falls themselves, which now attract tourists from all parts of the world, the surrounding Victoria Falls National Park and Mosi Oetanya National Park abound with large and small game and offer recreational facilities. Waterfall area where flowing river water drops abruptly and nearly vertically. Waterfalls represent major interruptions in river flow. Under most circumstances, rivers tend to smooth out irregularities in their flow by processes of erosion and deposition. In time, the long profile of a river takes the form of a smooth curve, steepest toward the source, gentlest toward the mouth. Waterfalls interrupt this curve, and their presence is a measure of the progress of erosion. A waterfall may also be termed a falls or sometimes a cataract, the latter designation being most common when large volumes of water are involved. Waterfalls of small height and lesser steepness are called cascades. This term is often applied to a series of small falls along a river. Still gentler reaches of rivers that nonetheless exhibit turbulent flow and white water in response to a local increasing channel gradient are called rapids. A brief treatment of waterfalls follows. For full treatment, see River waterfalls. The highest waterfall in the world is Angel Falls in Venezuela. Arguably the largest waterfall is the Chutes de Khon on the Mekong River in Laos. The volume of water passing over it has been estimated at 11,600 cubic m per second, although its height is only 70 m. There are several conditions that give rise to waterfalls. One of the most common reasons for a waterfall's existence is difference in rock type. Rivers cross many lithological boundaries, and, if a river passes from a resistant rock bed to a softer one, it is likely to erode the soft rock more quickly and steepen its gradient at the junction between the rock types. This situation can occur as a river cuts and exhumes a junction between different rock beds. The riverbed of Niagara Falls, which forms part of the boundary between the United States and Canada, has a blocky dolomite cap overlying a series of weaker shales and sandstones. A related cause of waterfalls is the presence of bars of hard rock in the riverbed. A series of cataracts has been created on the Nile where the river has worn its bed sufficiently to uncover the hard crystalline basement rock. Other waterfalls are caused less by the character of rock formations and more by the structure or shape of the land. Uplifted plateau basalts, for example, may provide a resistant platform at the edge of which rivers produce waterfalls, as occurs on the Antrim basalts in Northern Ireland. On a much larger scale, the morphology of the southern half of Africa, a high plateau surrounded by a steep scarp slope, creates waterfalls and rapids on most of the area's major rivers. These include the Livingstone Falls on the Congo River and the Waterfall Falls on the Orange River. In general, the occurrence of waterfalls increases in mountainous terrain as slopes get steeper. Erosion and geology are not the only factors that create waterfalls. Tectonic movement along a fault may bring hard and soft rocks together and encourage the establishment of a waterfall. A drop in sea level promotes increased downcutting and the retreat upstream of a neck point. Depending on the change of sea level, river flow, and geology, falls or rapids may develop at the neck point. Many waterfalls have been created by glaciation where valleys have been overdeepened by ice and tributary valleys have been left high up on steep valley sides. In the glacially gouged Yosemite Valley in California, the Yosemite Upper Falls tumble 436 m from such a hanging valley. Within a river's time scale, a waterfall is a temporary feature that is eventually worn away. The rapidity of erosion depends on the height of a given waterfall, its volume of flow, the type and structure of rocks involved, and other factors. In some cases the site of the waterfall migrates upstream by headward erosion of the cliff or scarp, while in others erosion may tend to act downward, to bevel the entire reach of the river containing the falls. With the passage of time, by either or both of these means, the inescapable tendency of rivers is to eliminate any waterfall that may have formed. The energy of rivers is directed toward the achievement of a relatively smooth, concave upward, longitudinal profile. Even in the absence of entrained rock debris, which serve as an erosive tool of rivers, the energy available for erosion at the base of a waterfall is great. One of the characteristic features associated with waterfalls of any great magnitude, with respect to volume of flow as well as to height, is the presence of a plunge pool, a basin that is scoured out of the river channel beneath the falling water. In some instances the depth of a plunge pool may nearly equal the height of the cliff causing the falls. Plunge pools eventually cause the collapse of the cliff face and the retreat of the waterfall. Retreat of waterfalls is a pronounced feature in some places. At Niagara, for example, the falls have retreated 11 kilometers from the face of the escarpment where they began. Today much of Niagara's water is diverted for hydroelectric power generation, but it has been estimated that with normal flow the rate of retreat would be about 1 in per year. Check out us for more videos. Do not forget to subscribe our channel.